When you wake up in the morning and you're flooded with dread, with shame, with a quiet, creeping sense of unworthiness, that is not random, that's the dragon. It's the part of your psyche that holds everything you've avoided. The painful memories, the regret, the fear of failure, and the refusal to act when you knew you should have. The dragon isn't an illusion, it's real, and it grows every time you pretend it's not there. You might think you're weak because you feel anxious or depressed or unmotivated, but you're not weak because you feel those things. You're weak because you haven't yet developed the courage to face them. And courage is not something that shows up uninvited. It's something you practice, you choose it, you invoke it. Every time you avoid your problems, they grow teeth, they multiply in the shadows. And every time you decide, even in the smallest way, to stop running and turn toward them, they begin to shrink. The ancients understood this better than we do. That's why myths are filled with dragons, monsters, underworlds. They're not just stories, they're psychological maps. They say, the treasure you seek is in the cave you fear to enter. And that's not poetic fluff, that's an instruction. You want your life to change. Good, then go precisely to the place you don't want to go. Start there, that conversation you're avoiding, that admission you refuse to make, that goal you're terrified to name because if you fail, it'll confirm your worst fears about yourself. That's the dragon, and here's the paradox. The longer you avoid the confrontation, the more power the dragon accumulates. You'll dream about it even if you're not conscious of it. It'll poison your interactions. It'll pull your posture downward, your voice will lose strength, your capacity for joy will rot from the inside, and you'll tell yourself, that's just life, but it's not life, it's your refusal to engage with life. People don't become better by pretending to be good, they become better by confronting their capacity for cowardice and then choosing to act with courage anyway. You can't eliminate the dragon entirely, there's always going to be some fear, some pain, some unknown. But you can grow stronger. You can become someone who voluntarily walks into the fire instead of waiting for the fire to burn your house down. There's no easy fix. You'll fail at this. You'll try to face the dragon and it'll throw you back. That's fine. That's part of the process. The hero falls again and again, but keeps getting up. The courage is in the return, not the perfection. And when you do finally stand your ground, when you speak the truth you've never said out loud, when you admit to yourself what you've been denying, when you act in the face of fear, you'll feel it. You'll feel the dragon recede. And in its place, something grows: self-respect, integrity, strength. The knowledge that you can handle life because you stopped running from it. So the next time that heavy feeling creeps up, that whisper in your mind tells you you're not enough, don't turn away. Turn toward it. That's your path. That's your calling. Face the dragon within. Everything you want depends on it. If your life is chaotic, if you're overwhelmed by anxiety, resentment, bitterness, or despair, then start by cleaning up your mental room. That doesn't mean chasing some abstract sense of perfection or getting everything right all at once. It means beginning with what's directly in front of you, in your control, right now. Because order isn't just about your physical space, though that matters too. It's about confronting the clutter in your mind. It's about sorting yourself out thought by thought, belief by belief, habit by habit. People underestimate the power of small things. They say, oh, making my bed won't fix my depression, or writing down my thoughts won't change anything. That's wrong. It's deeply wrong. Those small acts, done voluntarily and consistently, begin to build structure around chaos. And when you're surrounded by chaos, any point of structure becomes a lifeline. You need to start somewhere. You have to say, I'm going to stop letting this part of my mind be a dumping ground for everything I don't want to look at, because your mind is not a garbage bin. And every time you repress a truth or deny an emotion or avoid a hard conversation with yourself, you pile more junk into your mental space. Eventually, there's no room to think clearly. You can't distinguish what you actually believe from what you've been told to believe. You can't tell what matters from what's meaningless. You become lost in your own head, And then, without even realizing it, you're living in a mental world that's built on avoidance and denial rather than responsibility and order. So how do you clean up your mental room? You start by writing. You sit down. Pen, paper, no excuses. And you write what you're afraid of, what's bothering you, what you regret, what you've been putting off. You let the truth come out unedited, you name the problems you've buried. That's how you begin to bring order to the chaos, by taking the abstract and making it concrete. Then you look at your routines. Are you eating properly? Are you sleeping at the same time every night? Are you filling your head with junk from social media and wondering why you feel distracted and numb? Stop waiting for motivation. Start imposing structure, wake up at the same time, turn off the distractions, set boundaries. These aren't meaningless rules, they're psychological tools. They're how you bring discipline to your inner world. And it's not just about cleaning up negativity, it's also about identifying what's good and strengthening it. What are your strengths? Where have you shown courage? Where do you feel meaning? Cultivate those thoughts. Give them space to grow, because your mental room isn't just a place to sweep clean. It's a place to live. You should want it to be a place worth inhabiting. You have more power than you think, not over everything, not over other people or the randomness of tragedy, but over yourself. Over how you respond, over what you pay attention to, over whether you continue to let your mind be ruled by confusion or whether you begin to sort it out. If your house was a mess and you refuse to clean it, people would say you're irresponsible. Why should it be any different with your mind? If it's a mess in there, clean it up. Not all at once, not perfectly, but piece by piece. And over time, you'll discover that as your mental room becomes clearer, so does the rest of your life. Most people are suffering not just because life is difficult, that's a given, but because they refuse to speak the truth, especially to themselves. They lie about who they are. They lie about what they want. They lie about what they've done, and more dangerously, they lie about what they've avoided doing. And those lies, they don't just sit there, they twist you, they contort your perceptions, they fog your mind, and before long, you don't even know what you believe anymore. The truth is not optional. It's not just an abstract ideal or a polite moral suggestion. It's a lifeline. If you don't start telling the truth, especially internally, you'll rot from the inside out. And telling the truth isn't just about avoiding lies. It's about becoming precise. If you're anxious, name the anxiety. What exactly are you afraid of? If you're depressed, don't just say, "I feel bad." Dig. What is it you're mourning? What part of you is grieving a life unlived? What dreams have you abandoned because you told yourself you couldn't succeed? Be honest about that, brutally honest, because if you won't face the truth, you're handing over your agency to your own cowardice. And it starts with this: stop pretending you don't know. You know when you've betrayed yourself. You know when you're wasting time. You know when you're pretending to be someone you're not to avoid conflict or rejection. You feel it in your body. Your shoulders sink, your chest tightens, your energy drains. That's the cost of self-deceit. And the longer you run from the truth, the louder it screams at you in the form of symptoms. Anxiety, shame, resentment, numbness. Those aren't enemies, they're messengers. They're trying to get your attention. You might think, well, what if the truth is too painful? But here's the deeper reality. The truth is painful, yes, but it's also redemptive. It's the only thing strong enough to dissolve the lies that are suffocating you. Think of it this way: if your life is built on lies, then what you're calling yourself isn't even real, it's a shell. A mask. You're living as a character in someone else's script, and that's not sustainable. Sooner or later, the cracks show, the mask slips, and everything collapses. So what do? You stop. You sit in silence. And you ask yourself, what have I refused to say out loud? Write it, say it, whisper it to yourself if you have to, but start somewhere. You might be terrified to confront the truth, but I'll tell you what's worse, being ruled by lies so long that you forget there ever was a truth. This is not a call to recklessness. Telling the truth doesn't mean you become rude or impulsive. It means you integrate your thoughts, emotions, and actions around what is real. It means you stop using your intellect to defend your illusions and start using it to reveal your path forward. That's where integrity begins, aligning your internal world with the external one. No more pretending, no more hiding, just clarity, and with clarity comes power, the kind of power that can pull you out of despair and into meaning. So if your life feels chaotic, if you don't know what's real anymore, ask yourself this: where am I lying? And when you find the answer, because you will, have the courage to speak it, even if it's just to yourself. That's where the transformation begins always. Despair doesn't just appear out of nowhere, it accumulates, it builds brick by brick, day after day, every time you abdicate responsibility, every time you avoid doing what you know you should do, every time you let yourself be governed by impulse instead of principle. Despair isn't just emotional, it's structural. It's the natural consequence of chaos left unattended, and the only thing strong enough to hold back the tide of that chaos is discipline. Not motivation, not comfort, discipline. Most people wait until they feel like it to get their life together. They say, once I'm inspired, I'll go to the gym. Once I feel better, I'll start working on my goals. That's backward. You'll never feel like it when you're in despair. That's the trap. The emotional state you're in is a reflection of what you've neglected, and waiting for it to shift on its own is like waiting for the storm to stop without building a shelter. You don't wait for discipline to come, you create it by action, small, consistent, deliberate action. Start with one thing, one task. Wake up at the same time every day, no matter what. Make your bed. Clean your room, write for 10 minutes, go outside and take a walk. These things aren't trivial, they're sacred, they're rituals of order, and order is the antidote to the disintegration of your mind. When you're falling apart internally, you must do something externally that puts you back together. That's what discipline is. It's not a punishment, it's a form of self-respect. Despair thrives in unpredictability. It feeds off inconsistency. When your days are unstructured, when your choices are dictated by impulse or mood, you create the perfect breeding ground for hopelessness. But when you impose structure, when you say, this is what I do regardless of how I feel, you're reclaiming control. You're telling the chaos, you don't own me, I own me. And don't lie to yourself about the scale of change required. You don't need to change everything overnight. You can't, but you can change something. And once you prove to yourself that you can do that one thing, you earn the right to do another. Discipline compounds, it builds momentum, it gives you proof, actual physical proof, that you are capable of confronting your life. That's the opposite of despair. You also have to understand that discipline is a form of meaning. People think they're lost because they lack clarity. Often they're lost because they lack commitment. Discipline gives you a sense of progress, and progress is deeply meaningful. When you do what you said you'd do, when you show up even when it's hard, you remember that you're not helpless, that you have agency. And that sense of agency is often the first thing to return when you're trying to pull yourself out of a dark place. Despair says, what's the point? Discipline says, you are the point. It's not about reaching perfection, it's about refusing to collapse, refusing to drift, refusing to let the worst parts of you make the decisions. That's heroism. That's how you climb out of the pit, step by painful step. One disciplined act at a time, and here's the truth. You already know what needs to be done. You've known for a long time. The question is whether you'll choose it, whether you'll accept the weight of discipline and carry it long enough to rebuild your life from the inside out, because the alternative isn't neutrality. It's despair, and you've lived there long enough. Responsibility is not just a burden imposed on you by the world or by society. It's the very thing that gives your life meaning. Too many people see responsibility as something to avoid, to run from, or to blame others for. They think, if only things were different, if only other people behaved better, if only I had fewer problems, then I wouldn't feel so trapped. But that's a misconception. The truth is that taking on responsibility voluntarily is what transforms chaos into order. It's the foundation upon which you build a life worth living. When you accept responsibility for your own thoughts, your actions, and your circumstances, even the harshest realities become manageable. It's not about blaming yourself for everything that goes wrong, but about recognizing what is within your control and taking ownership of that. It means saying, I am the agent in my life. I have the power to choose how I respond. This is crucial because when you refuse responsibility, you give your power away. You become a victim of circumstance, a passenger on the ship of your own life, tossed about by forces you refuse to steer. Voluntary responsibility is something you choose before it's forced upon you. Waiting until life compels you to act usually means you're already in crisis. That's reactive living, and it's a dangerous game. Instead, you must act preemptively. You must step forward and say, I will take on the weight of my existence. I will confront my flaws, my fears, and my failings. I will do what needs to be done even when I don't feel like it. This voluntary acceptance of responsibility isn't easy. It demands courage, honesty, and a willingness to endure hardship, but it's the only path out of chaos and despair. By taking responsibility voluntarily, you become like a captain at the helm of a ship in a storm. The waves are crashing, the sky is dark, but you're holding the wheel. You know that the storm is real and it's fierce, but you also know that your actions make a difference. You chart a course, you adjust your sails. You navigate. That is the essence of meaning, not the absence of suffering, but the active confrontation of it with purpose. This is deeply connected to your identity. The choices you make in owning your responsibility shape who you are. If you shirk responsibility, you diminish yourself. You become fragmented, scattered, and unmoored. But if you take it on, you build character, you build strength. You build a self that can stand in the face of adversity and say, I will carry this burden because it is mine and it is meaningful. Responsibility is not only about the big things either. It's found in the daily commitments, the small decisions, the promises you keep to yourself and others. It's the decision to be honest even when lies are easier. It's showing up to the work that scares you. It's cleaning your room literally and metaphorically. These actions multiplied over time create a structure of meaning around your life. Finally, you must understand that responsibility liberates you. It doesn't confine you. When you own your life fully, you stop blaming others and circumstances. You stop being passive. You become the architect of your destiny. That power is daunting, but it is also exhilarating. It means that no matter what chaos the world throws at you, you have the capacity to respond with order, with strength, and with meaning. So, take responsibility, not because you have to, but because you choose to. Because in that choice lies your freedom, because in that choice lies the path to becoming who you were meant to be. You must understand that aiming higher isn't about setting yourself up for failure or chasing some unattainable ideal. It's about recognizing the potential that exists within you, even if it's buried beneath layers of doubt, fear, and complacency. Too often, people limit themselves to what feels comfortable or safe, settling for less because the cost of aiming higher seems too great. But the truth is that aiming low guarantees stagnation and despair. If you want to transform your life, you have to set a goal that challenges you, something that pulls you forward, something that demands more of you than you think you can give. Aiming higher means envisioning a version of yourself that embodies responsibility, courage, competence, and meaning. It means looking beyond your current state, your immediate difficulties, and the limitations imposed by your past. This isn't about arrogance or fantasy, it's about clarity and ambition combined with humility. You're not declaring that you'll be perfect or invincible, you're declaring that you will strive to be better than you are now. And that striving itself is what creates meaning. But here's the critical piece: aiming higher without action is just wishful thinking. It's not enough to say, I want to be better. You have to act now. The present moment is the only time in which change can actually happen. Waiting for the right time, or for motivation to strike, is a recipe for paralysis. You have to take that first step, no matter how small, and take it immediately. It doesn't matter if you don't feel ready, because readiness is often a myth. What matters is that you move forward deliberately with purpose. Action grounds your goals in reality. It turns vague hopes into concrete progress. When you act, you gather evidence about what works and what doesn't. You refine your aim, you learn, and as you do, your confidence grows. That's the paradox. You don't start confident. You become confident by acting. By stepping into the unknown, you build the foundation for competence and mastery. The process isn't linear or easy. There will be setbacks, mistakes, and failures, but these are not signs that you should stop. They are proof that you are engaged in something meaningful. Failure is the price of progress. You must be willing to pay it over and over again. Every time you fail and rise again, you become stronger, wiser, and more capable. That's how you climb out of chaos and into order. Importantly, aiming higher also requires you to take responsibility for your goals. They're not just lofty dreams floating in the air. They're commitments you make to yourself, and commitments demand discipline, sacrifice, and honesty. You must be willing to face the hard truths about what it takes to reach your aim. You must clean your room, organize your thoughts, and act with integrity, because only a disciplined, responsible person can carry the weight of a meaningful goal. So, aim high, but do not wait. Take the first step today, not tomorrow, not next week. Right now, even if it's small, even if it's imperfect, that act of courage sets the wheels in motion. It signals to your unconscious mind that you're serious, that you're willing to bear the burden of growth and change. It wakes you up from the fog of complacency and despair. Your future self depends on what you do today. If you keep putting it off, you will remain stuck in the same patterns, trapped by your fears and limitations. But if you aim higher and act now, you begin a journey toward a life of meaning, competence, and resilience. And that journey, difficult as it may be, is the very essence of what it means to be human.